So the first topic I want to talk about is that the first trailer came out for 28 years later. I'm really excited for this movie. It's coming out next year. Like I love the original 28 Days Later film. Like to me, that's one of the best zombie movies. It's a movie I highly recommend if you haven't checked out 28 Days Later. I will watch 28 Weeks Later before the new one comes out because that's the second movie in the franchise. But I think this first trailer for 28 Years Later does a great job of just really building up tension with the way the trailer's edited. Like you just feel the tension in this trailer. Which is one of the things I love about the Wisdom is that it really felt like a horror movie. Like you love the characters, you really felt like the world they set up in that first movie was like scary, creepy, and it's just one of those movies I think the Wisdom did a great job of staying out from other zombie movies. And Aaron Taylor Johnson, I think, is a great actor. It looks like he's leading the movie, so I'm excited to see. I'm always excited to see what he does next. And I think this is a fantastic first show. It really does feel like the world from the original. And I know the director said, so you have the director who did the 28 Days Later movie, directing the new one 20 years later movie. So you have the original director back. I talked about this movie's about like the passage of time. And you really do feel like that with the how this is a third movie in the franchise and the idea of just how like times affected people living in this type of world. So I think this just was a fantastic first trailer. I cannot wait for 20 years later. The next topic is the first reactions for the Mufasa movie came out, and they're pretty good actually. Was For me, I'm glad to hear that because I'm really excited for this movie. Like I didn't like the 2019 Lion King live action or anime, whatever you want to call it, because I think that's a gray area. I think you can call it anime, but I think you can also call it live action because of the realistic looking of that movie. But you can also call it anime. So I think to me, it's like one of those. What do you want to call it live action anime movie? That 2019 remake, I just thought was a soulless remake that was terrible, and it just felt very shot for shot. But the reason I've been excited for Mufasa is because it's telling an original story, like an absolute new story with the Lion King franchise. Because you like you don't really have too many original new Lion King stories outside of the straight to DVD movies. Which from what I think I saw, maybe the second one was I don't think it was all that great. I think there's been like 3 or 4 or something like that. But to have a Lion King movie in theaters that's actually telling a new story, that's what excited me. So the first reaction sounds like it's actually a prequel that's going to be good. The first, we have one reaction here saying, please say Mufasa The Lion King is really good, but what else would you expect from the director Barry Jenkins? A political explanation of destiny brilliantly disguised as an origin story for Mufasa. It's called entertaining, visually stunning. And Lima Don's music did not disappoint. So I'm really curious about the music for this movie because they have to come up with new songs, obviously, since it's not going to be a shot-for-shot remake of a Lion King anime movie like a 2019 film. So I'm glad to hear that because that's one of the things I'm like curious and like a little concerned about. If they can like really come up with songs that are just as good as the original anime movie. So I'm glad to hear that part of it. Mufasa The Lion King is a perfect prequel. So Billy crafted the songs by Lim Manuel and the score are absolutely divine and music to the ears, pure joy. So another good reaction there. I really love Mufasa The Lion King. Disney brings us a new original tale of these beloved characters telling 2 parallel stories and correcting the aspects that didn't work in the 2019 remake. Lion King fans, there are many references to the original trilogy in the music. I'm like really love hearing the fact that a lot of people are loving the music. Because again, like I said, this movie has come with entirely new songs. And it sounds like people are loving the story in the movie, which is telling an original story, which I'm glad to hear that. Mufasa Lion King left me speechless. It's a story that deserves to be told that makes us question what is destiny. Expertly written and crafted as the Lion King franchise, but adding more dimension to the characters we love and thought we knew, and the visual effects are starting. So I'm glad to hear that it adds some stuff to the Lion King story, to how you know these characters, because to me that's one of the things I think you always have to really do a good job with people is like find out stuff about these characters maybe you didn't know in the previous movie. So I'm glad to hear that. Visual effects, I'm not surprised by that because even though I didn't like the 2019 film, the effects in that movie look fantastic. Even if the way when animals were talking in the 2019 movie, there was like a disconnect there, but I feel like it looks like in the trailers for this one they kind of corrected that a little bit. Yeah, another one here. Be prepared. Mufasa The Lion King. Okay. Now there are some negative ones though. So this is one of the negative ones. Be prepared. Mufasa The Lion King occasionally suffers from a bunch of prevaritis, but otherwise, this movie functions as divide, pleasantly dividing though semi-tragic. Family devoting those semi-tragic family fare for holiday season with just enough drama and that's laughs to feel slightly overwhelmed one time. So you have a positive one there, but you also have some negatives there when it comes to it suffering from things about prequels that maybe like how the story when it comes to like where the story how the story's gonna end, like how these characters are gonna how it's gonna end with the characters with the fact it leads directly into the 2019 film. Was anytime you do a prequel, you're gonna run into that problem where how the story ends, that some characters are gonna live, and who they're gonna become. So I think that's something sometimes you can't really avoid with prequels. But it also sounds like maybe it's saying a slightly over on one time. So I don't know how long this movie is, but yeah, I'm wondering about the one time being maybe a little too long. But most of that review, even that one was mostly positive with some negatives, of course. Mufasa The Lion King is an unexpected, bloodthirsty prequel with stunning visual cinematography, but contains so-called songs that don't advance a contrived story. It's fine for those interested in learning about Mufasa and Scar's orders. At least the humor provides laughs and levity. So you have like another negative one there too, when they're talking about the contrived story, and that's fine maybe for fans who are interested in knowing about the origin story of Mufasa and Scar. So not all positive, and I might do this more often. Is like as you read some of the first reactions, so you can get a gauge of like you have with reactions you're gonna have some negative ones there, you're gonna have some positive ones there. And this is the last one. I'll read these last two. So yeah, one here where it says cinematic joy and stunning visual effects, amazing music entrances, epic imagery, such thrilling comments that talents you for and probably not just another prequel is one of the best Disney movies ever fitting instead of what's next. So you have a very high positive one there, and you have some negatives here with this one, the last one. It has some pacing issues, but Mufasa The Lion King has a great third act that really sets up the legacy that is The Lion King. It's crazy what believability we can get with CGI out of this movie as a shine example. Matt Mixon sings Quest team. So you had two basically negative reviews there, but when you talk about the pacing and maybe some of the pitfalls of it being a prequel when it comes to how the story's gonna end. But for the most part, most of these reactions are positive, which is always good to hear. Now they are first reactions, so you gotta be careful with first reactions a lot of times. I remember hearing the first reactions for Gladiator 2, or like people saying it was one of the best movies, and I ended up not liking that movie. So I don't always, you know, I don't like try. I don't always put my I'm glad to hear that first reactions are good. I'm glad to hear that, but I also know to always know that like first reactions most of the time can be more than likely positive. And, you had one of the reactions there that wasn't a fan of the song, so but for the most part, it sounds like most of the reactions were positive. But this movie was, I am glad to hear. I'm really excited for this Mufasa movie, and I'm glad to hear that most of them were positive. And hopefully, when I go see this movie, it ends up being a really good to great movie because the 2019 one, I just really wasn't a fan of. But it sounds like, at least from most reactions, that they did a course correction with this movie. So hopefully, this will be a really good Lion King movie when I end up seeing it. The next topic I'm going to talk about is so there's reports going around that Sony's Spider-Verse verse with all these movies, with the Venom movies, Venom Web, Morbius, and you have the Crave movie coming out this month, that the Sony Spider-Verse is dead and that Sony's going to focus on the Spider-Man movies when it comes to the Tom Holland Spider-Man 4, the third Spider-Verse movie, and then you have that TV show with Spider Noir with Nicolas Cage. Was, whether this report is true or not, I do believe this report that the Sony verse is dead, at least for now, because Sony doesn't have any movies announced after Craven when it comes to these movies that don't involve Spider-Man. When it comes to using like these movies like Craven, Morbius, Venom, and Web, like supporting characters or villains that are connected to Spider-Man. And if it is, I'm gonna be honest, I'm happy if it is. I'm totally fine with Sony just focusing on the Spider-Man movies. Spider-Verse 3, Spider-Man 4, Tom Holland, and the Nicolas Cage Spider-Man show. Because to me, this whole Sony versus without Spider-Man, Craven is tracking to make 2025. I don't think anybody's really all that excited for it. I think people were curious at first, but at the end of the day, I just don't think like the changes they made and I think Sony, just the quality of the movies just haven't been good. Like the Venom movies, they made some money. I'll give them the Venom movies. Even Venom 3, even though like it was the lowest grossing, it was a movie that cost 100 something, made over 400. So, but everything else hasn't even done decently, box office wise for them. So, and I just think Sony, and look, I think the Sony verse without Spider-Man, you could have made some great villain movies. Yeah, I think you could have. I think these are all great characters. But I just don't think the quality, the way these movies have been like performing, the quality of these movies, like Battle Web did horrible box office wise, Morbius did horrible box office wise. They won't receive well. Even the Venom movies, even though they made money, with the first one making the most over 800, they won't receive all that well. And I don't think Craven is really going to do all that great at the box office at all. And I'm not even sure it's even going to be that good of a movie based on what I'm seeing from the trailers, because it looks more of the same. It looks like it's going to have some of the same issues that the other Sonyverse movies have had. The ones with the Sonyverse movies without Spider-Man. I also think that, like, I've seen a director talk about, the director who did Craven, saying how this movie is supposed to set him up to be the villain from the comics, and that he really wants to see The Last Hunt. Craven the Last Hunt, which is a great story in the comics, but that story in the comics involves Craven hunting down Spider-Man. And I think that's the problem with these characters is that I don't think anybody wants to see Craven in his own movie. I think people want to see Craven in a Spider-Man movie. And like you can't do that story The Last Hunt without Spider-Man. And even some of the stuff I've heard about the Craven movie, where like Craven's father is like some gangster type character, and like mob and all that, and I'm like, it just to me just sounds like they're just they're gonna make the same mistakes with Craven. Now the movie could end up being fun or great, but even if it ends up being good, I just don't think box office wise it's gonna do it all that well. So I do believe this report that the Sony Spider-Man Verse is dead right now. They're going to focus on the Spider-Man movies, at least for now. Like I do believe that report, and personally, I'm happy about that. If Sony just decides to not do any more movies about the villains or supporting characters like Madam Web, and just let Marvel use those characters in their own movies, and just leave Sony to work with Marvel on the Spider-Man, Tom Holland movies, and for them to do their own Spider-Verse animated movies and Nicolas Cage Spider-Man show. Because I think that's, to me, they seem to be much better in that area, I feel like, than with these villain movies so far. The next topic is, so it has been confirmed Chris Evans is going to be Avengers Doomsday, which definitely has me curious. Because the reason it has me curious is because, is he going to be coming back as like a variant of Captain America? Is he going to? Because we haven't seen Steve Rogers since Avengers Endgame. They made a joke about his character in the Falcon Winter Soldier show, saying, the guy he's going to become the next Falcon, making a line, having a line saying, "Oh, Some people will say he's off on the moon," and I'm curious, like, is he going to be in Avengers Endgame as that version of Cap that we saw in Endgame as an old man? Or is he going to be playing a variant of Cap? Or another thing is that he could be playing maybe another version of Human Torch. We just saw him as Johnny Storm again in Deadpool and Wolverine. So, I mean, he could be playing maybe a evil version of Captain America. Because you do have like a Hydra version of that character in the comics where he does join Hydra and he's like a bad guy, that version of Captain America. So, he could be playing evil version of Captain America. I'm definitely curious to see like what, like, is he like I said, is he playing like an evil version of Captain America? Are we gonna find out what happened to Steve since we haven't seen the old man Steve since Endgame? Is he playing another version of Johnny Storm? So I'm definitely curious, like who he's playing in that movie. Like I do, like I'm glad to see he's gonna be back because it's the Avengers movies, and I do think you need to have like I have a feeling you're gonna see some of the original Six Avengers, rather like you're gonna have Bobby Downey Jr. in it, but he just won't be Iron Man. But I do think you'll see those original six actors in this movie. And I definitely am happy to see Chris Evans confirmed to be back, and really curious to see what role, like I said, he's gonna be playing. The next thing is Evil. So the news came out for the title for one of the two Evil Dead spin-offs. It's going to be called Evil Dead Bone. It's going to be coming out in 2026. So I'm definitely excited for this. I'm curious what the other Evil Dead spin-off is going to be, but I'm also wondering about this one. Like, is it gonna like connect to Evil Dead Rise in some little way? Like, are we gonna see characters from that movie, or is it gonna be like just like I'm guessing it's gonna be completely new characters, but I'm wondering if there's gonna be some connection to that. Because honestly, if they have that one and another Evil Dead spinoff in the works, it definitely looks like they're going to be. Because they talked about wanting to put out Evil Dead movies more quicker, and I had such a long gap between each Evil Dead movie. And I loved Evil Dead Rise, and I'm just a big Evil Dead fan. Like I love the first two Evil Dead movies. I think the 2013 was a solid, entertaining, good Evil Dead movie too. Like to me, there has been one I thought was terrible, one I even thought was okay. Like they've all been really entertaining and great. So I'm definitely excited for this, and I like the title. Like it's a good title, Evil Dead Bone. The last topic is so Ryan Reynolds was doing this video act on actor with Andrew Garfield, and he was talking about Deadpool, and I love what I'm hearing that he said like it sounds like Deadpool will be more of a supporting character going forward and not a Deadpool 4. Now, I do think there's a chance he could change his mind of these comments of him saying, like, he's playing down Deadpool 4 and it, like, he'll be, like, it sounds like he'll be willing to have Deadpool be kind of like the supporting character, which I think could work really well. I think Deadpool can make a great lead character and a great supporting character. And I could see him change his mind though, but I do believe Ryan Reynolds and what he's saying about Deadpool 4. And I think they could be they could be maybe having his character kind of take more of a backseat role. Because he is a humorous, he is like a really jokester type character too. But I think what he said comment wise seems like it's coming, it seems like general to me that he might not be, he might not be making a Deadpool 4. Like he just says, I don't know. Honestly, my feeling is that the character works very well in two ways. One is secrecy and surprise he was playing. So it had been 6 years since the last one, and part of the reason is that it's strong my whole life. I have 4 kids. I don't want to be an absent dad. Which I understand that he has a big family. I kind of die inside when I see their face and they do sports and there's something I miss, and I don't know what the future Death will be, but I do know that made a really complete experience instead of a commercial for another one. And I love that. Like I love Deadpool Halloween, and you kind of look at it as like an ending to the Deadpool story, his like Deadpool's arc in those 3 movies. And he says, yeah, Deadpool is supporting character much more than he is a center stater. We sent him sometimes because that's what they want, but you can't send him unless you take everything away from him. You have to create a situation where he's so much the underdog. I don't think I can do that again. But I love that. He even says if he comes back, it's going to be in someone else's movie. Chan I'll happily be a fifth banana in his movie when anyone else. And I love the fact that he's like fine with if he feels like that Deadpool looks best as a supporting character now. I think there is, I think you could do that with Deadpool being kind of like the end of his story, and him being more kind of like a supporting character where he pops up in other people's movies. And I also love this, what he's saying that in order to, like, he doesn't want to do the same thing again, where he's talking about the only way to do another Deadpool is that you take everything away from him and you have to make him the underdog. And he's saying, I don't think I can do that again. So I totally understand it too, is that the idea that maybe you can't just repeat the same thing again. And you know what? I'm perfectly fine either way. Look, to me, Ryan Reynolds knows the character the best. And I think he could change his mind, of course, like if Marvel offers him a bunch of money, and because actors, actors sometimes would change their minds too. So he says this now, but in the future you could say something else. Marvel could offer him a bunch of money, and bam, you have Deadpool 4 coming. So you never know. But I'll say this: if Deadpool was the last solo Deadpool movie, to me, that would be a great way to end the dope Deadpool movies on. And I could be like, to me, I would want it. I would love to see a Deadpool 4, but I have no problem if Ryan Reynolds feels like the best way for the character now is to be a supporting character, and he feels like Deadpool's story ended and Deadpool will lead as the lead character. I can totally understand that. So I feel like I'll be happy either way when it comes to either like some if he decides to change his mind and do a Deadpool 4, or if he just feels like that okay, he told Deadpool's story as lead character and he feels like he would be work better now as a supporting character. I'll be fine either way. I love the character. I think Ryan Reynolds is fantastic as a character. And I love the fact that he really shows in these with this character that he wants to do what's best for the character. I love seeing that. So I'm fine either way, whether it's Deadpool 4 or Deadpool as a supporting character. So that's all the movie topics today. Until next time, movie fans.